Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. Well, foreclosures are coming. Not if the CFPB has anything to do with it. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau actually just came out with a new rule for mortgage servicers for folks coming out of forbearance. We talked about this, saying that it's going to make it a little more difficult for foreclosures to happen. So this was the rule that just came out from the CFPB yesterday. Basically have to give people more options. So it's freeing up their ability to give people more options coming out of that forbearance, which makes all kinds of sense. That's because we do not want the financial crisis, financial? We're just going to call it the financial crisis this weird week. Anyways, the financial crisis that we had in 08, 09, we don't want it happening again. There have been some people out there saying with this many people in forbearance, there's about to be a rash of foreclosures out there, and I don't see that happening at all. I've been preaching that if you've been watching the show, but I also just saw the CFPB come out with saying, yeah, let's not do that. Most people are just having the payments tacked onto the end of their loan. They're making it loan modifications very simpler. They're making loan, mods, not just the modifications of payments, but actually lowering the rates and stuff. Very, very simple. They're not having to submit a lot of the paperwork. These are for government loans that have to be normally done. They're not having to submit those with these new rules. So they're making it easier to make sure folks can stay in their home. Now, if it's time to sell it, if the job has not come back, let's say that you were employed and we went on a forbearance for a certain amount of time and the income is not back and we do need to sell it, most people here have plenty of equity. If you do fall in that category, give me a call, because most people have plenty of equity. They can sell and actually get the equity out, not only to pay off their loan, but actually have some cash to move on to whatever. So I do not see a rash of foreclosures. I do not see a rash of short sales coming on. I'm keeping an eye on it because there was an organization I was belonged to in 08, 09, 10, 11, 12 called the Certified Distressed Property Expert Organization. And they shut down after about 16, 17 because that's one of the ways that I learned how to do short sales real well, because I studied with them, went through their courses, got their designation, and they actually just fired up again. So I don't know why. I've actually reached out to them going, why are we firing up? Because I don't see this, at least in our area. So maybe there's some areas that we do. I don't see short sales coming back here at all because too many people have equity. If you've bought in the last almost 2 years, you've probably got equity. I mean, if you bought 2 days ago, you probably don't have equity, but if you bought in the last 2 years, you probably have equity, and you probably have more than you think. So 2 years or more. I had somebody that bought 5 years ago that was just floored at the amount of equity they had when I went over and said, we could sell it at this. Not only did we get that, we got an over list price cash. So that's happening out there. That really is happening out there. But yeah, right now, I think that inventory is going to continue to be crunched. I don't see a rash of foreclosures, so I do not see prices falling anytime soon. There's nothing economically that points to that. And it's all basic economics, basic supply and demand. Speaking of supply, let's take a look at our 2 supplies in these 2 counties right now. Let's go. All right, if you've never seen the show, you don't know that I always start off with this slide right here. It says if we have between 6 and 7 months, we have a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less is a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say, anything greater than 9 months, hyper buyer's market. Anything less than 3, a hyper seller's market. We start off in Escambia County, and look, it looked like 650 to 700 dropped back down below our criteria. That was 3 point something last week. So it's 2.7, so it's back down to a hyper sellers. The 550 to 600 is floating right at a sellers. So our criteria says anything under 3 months is a hyper sellers. That's why it's orange, because it's at 3 months. So it's technically a sellers. 700,000 plus, technically a sellers, not a hyper sellers. But to be honest, is any of this price point different as far as my marketing? No, I would market this with the hyper sellers strategies right now. If I'm looking at marketing a property right now, all price points would be marketed with a hyper seller strategy. If this was closer to 4.5, like it was a month and a half ago, we may move a little slightly towards just the sellers, because you got your all of those price points that I talked about on this slide right here, the neutral market, the buyer's market, the seller's market, the hyper buyer's market, the hyper seller's market, they all have different marketing strategies as a seller. They also have all different offer strategies as a buyer. So I think that all of this, both on the buyer side and the seller side, I would do this as a hyper seller's market, even though these two are slightly over, and according to our definition is still over hyper sellers, I would still treat them as a hyper sellers. Your 100 to 150,000, 1.1 months worth of inventory. We've actually seen some inventory increase right there. 150,000 to 200,000 is 0.7 months. And look, this is for my buyers right here. Everything at 150,000 to, well, gosh, 550,000 is selling 99 to 100% on list. So don't come in thinking you're going to go way, way under. You're just not. You're just not. If it's listed on this market, you're just not. And not get it anyways. I mean, you could write it. I had some properties that get written almost instinctively. I know there's a company out of Orlando that sends an offer for every listing that I have. They must send offers for every listing that comes out there, which has to be tedious. I don't know how they have the manpower to do that, but it's usually 30% off of what I've listed it at. So they're asking 65 or 70% of what I've listed at. They must send out hundreds, if not thousands of offers a day. Maybe one or two get accepted. I don't know. I've never accepted one. Let's jump over to Santa Rosa County. 242 active total. We have gone up some, but it's spread out so much that everything is still a hyper sellers. Just like in Escambia County, the luxury is 3.3, but I would still treat everything in Santa Rosa County as a hyper sellers. And if we go through those same numbers like we did in Escambia County, 150 to 200,000 has 0.3 months, 200,000 to 250,000 has 0.3 months, 250,000 to 300,000 has 0.4, 300,000 to 350,000 has 0.4 months, 350,000 to 400,000, 0.8 months. It's just ridiculously low. Ridiculously low. I mean, if you told me, hey, I qualify for $225,000, can you send me what's in Santa Rosa County? I can send you all 17 actives right now. And I promise you, by the time I've run this report and recorded this and put it up on YouTube and Facebook, some of these are gone. It's a ridiculous market. This market is as hot as it is outside right now. Do I think this will continue? Yeah, for the short term. Yeah. Do I think I'm going to see any depreciation anytime soon? Nope. I don't see any point to any depreciation at any time soon. Nothing. We have a supply problem, which has been continued. Has it always been that way? No. Like I've said the last few weeks, if you go back to some of my episodes in 2019, just scroll back and click through and you can scan. I mean, you know how to slide the slider to where you can see these numbers too? You'll see that we had buyers and hyper buyers markets and neutral markets. One of the reasons I was getting so upset and I started doing this show was because I would hear agents tell someone, oh, it's a completely hyper seller's market. And I knew for a fact that they were telling the truth if you were at $150,000, but the person they were talking to was at $550,000, and that was a hyper buyer's market at the time. So they were flat out lying because they did not break the numbers down. So part of the reasons I decided to start this show every week was to just chronologically document the ebb and flow of our area in these two counties. So that's it. One of the things that I did want to point out, if you are looking at an instant offer, we have been getting quite a few calls on those. An instant offer is where we come out and just give you an offer on the property immediately. No, I'm not listing it at that point. I'm just saying, hey, we'll take it as is. You don't have to do any work. I've had 3 people that inherited properties call me up going, I haven't been in Pensacola in years. Can you just come take a look at the property? And so we're taking a look at it. We can give them an instant offer. It works out really well for both sides because one, either A, I give you an offer that works for you. You don't have to do any work. And we take it and we move. Or B, come to find out that instant offer doesn't quite meet your goals, then perhaps we talk about what work needs to be done. If you've got the time to do it and the cash to do it, then we know we can get you more. So it kind of works out good because you can get both sides instantaneously. Look, this is what an instant offer or an investor would offer you. This is what, if you put this into it, what I think I can get you on the market. Because look at these numbers right here. Look at these numbers. So, but it's worked out really well for a few people. So an instant offer, you can check that out. I'll have the link below on how you can find out how that works. And we can go from there. Anyways, I'm going to keep it a little shorter this week. We got 4th of July weekend. Don't blow too much up. Remember, those Alabama fireworks are not legal in our great state of Florida. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there. And
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?